Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, the two inventors that I have for the game Tesla versus Edison Duel. This is a two-player game that's kind of based in the same world and realm. If you remember the game Tesla versus Edison, a really fun game that I reviewed, oh man, it was like a year or so ago, I believe, that is from Artana Games. And this is in that world of that. And if you're familiar with that game, you might recognize some of the art and kind of the color schemes as well, something that I really liked about that. This is a two-player game that kind of boils down the whole process, the whole idea of Tesla versus Edison, which was a multiplayer game. And this is a person versus person area majority type of card drafting game where each person is going to be battling the other person, trying to use their assistant cards to give them control over different regions of the United States. You know, basically fighting over alternating current versus direct current. Now, the game I have I only got two of the inventors. They're going to have several more when the game does get published. So I just had Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. But for the most part, I mean, there's no like special powers they have or anything like that. There's some win conditions that they personally have. But for the most part, you're going to be going for area control as far as the game is concerned. You're going to win different electric projects for different cities in different areas of the nation, and then if you get those, then they're going to be worth points towards controlling that nation. And also there's going to be companies that are located within those nations that create electrical components, and then you're going to be trying to buy stock in those particular companies, and that'll give you some control as well. And the control is determined by points, and whoever has the most points in those regions will ultimately end up winning the game. So let me show you how the game is played. It's pretty straightforward, but has some cool trickeries going on, and it is a very, very fun game. It is a very, very straightforward game, but it is also very quick, and I don't want to say brutal, but it is very, very conflicting, right? Because it is an area control game, and area control games are you trying to usurp the control from the other person and hold on to it, you know, as long as you can without letting it be taken away from you. So let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, so this is Tesla versus Edison, the Duel. Now, before I dive in and show you how to play the game, just keep in mind this is a prototype I was sent, so there are going to be some minor changes between what you see in front of you here and when the game gets published. But all in all, the game still plays exactly the same as how I'm going to show you. So, I have two inventors. I have Tesla over here and I have Edison over there. As you may or may not know, Tesla was the big proponent of alternating current, and Thomas Edison was the big proponent of direct current. And there are going to be other inventors in the final game that are going to have, that are going to be associated with either of those as well. When you play, you have to make sure that you are having somebody with alternating current versus somebody with direct current. You can't have two on the same side. So each one of the inventors is going to have on their card some specific information. So here's Nikola Tesla, and here's hold all three technologies and have at least 10 more public relation points than your opponent. If you're able to do that, you're able to win the game outright. Just take a quick look at over here at Thomas A. Edison. Hire at least 4 luminaries and have a share of stock in at least 4 different companies. And that's his automatic win type of situation. Now, you have these 3 different regions, and ostensibly this game is about controlling these 3 regions. You do that by getting points in those regions. You get points in those regions by claiming stock that matches up with those particular areas. And then you have also these different projects over here. You can see there's those colors there. You get those projects that will allow you then to get a foothold, if you will, in these different locations. And so, like, each time you put a project in here that's worth 2 points, and each time you put one of your get a stock, share of stock in a company that's in one of these locations, you gain more and more exponential points in that particular spot. But I'll talk about that in just a little bit. So the way the game works is really simple, actually. It is a card drafting situation where each person is going to get 3 of these cards. I'm going to just take top 3 here just to show you how the game is played. And so you get these historical figures that are going to be assistants. Now, normally what you would do is you take the top 3, you'd pick one, you'd hand the cards to the person across the table from you. They'd hand you their 2 cards, you'd pick one, then hand back, and then you'd have your starting 3 cards. I'm just going to have these 3. Now, each one of these cards has on the bottom these 2 actions. You get to take both the actions when you play the card, and you can take those in any order. Also, depending upon certain factors, like if you sell a piece of your stock, each person starts with 5 pieces of their personal company stock. And you can see there are 5 here as well for Edison. And also, if you get stock certificates over here that might not be really worth anything to you, you can sell those back and you can get free actions. And then for every 3 points on the public relations points that you get a free action as well. Free actions can replicate any of the other actions that are available to you that are on the card. They're literally like a wild card type of situation. Now, you might have noticed a couple things. One, Edison only has one of these technology cards here. That's bulbs, whereas Nikola Tesla has the electric meters and transformers. That's just randomly determined at the end of the game. The person that doesn't start with these 2 gets 2 automatic PR points to start with. So that's how they divvy that up. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're just going to play a card, and you're going to take the actions that the cards give you, and then any free actions that you might get as well. Now, the actions themselves are pretty straightforward as far as what you do, but there's some like timing things you need to do, and like also some synergies that you're going to want to work for to process. So I'm just going to kind of go through the different actions that you can have. So one of the actions that you can do is you can claim a project or reset the project market, and that's one of these little symbols there, the little town or little building there. And so what that does is that allows you to take one of the projects that are available here. So like if you wanted to take Boston, so to speak. And now as soon as you take one, as you probably have guessed, you immediately go ahead and replenish what was there. And so now there's Great Barrington on that spot. Now, a couple things I want to say as well. If you don't want to take one that's available to you, you just go ahead and you can take the 3 and put them on the bottom of the deck and then turn 3 new ones over. You can take that as an action. So if the ones that are available to you you don't like, you can go ahead and do that. When you take a project, what you will do is you will just take it and you'll place it on your side of the board and place it in that location to show that you have that project there. Now, there is one thing that can possibly happen. There's another action you can take that you get that allows you to place one of these markers that says either no DC or no AC on there. And what that can do is somebody has that like in that location, like here's like a no DC there, you would not be able to take, if you were Thomas Edison, you would not be able to take New York City and place it on that location like that, because right at that present time there is no direct current available on there, and that's an action that you can take. And then if you take the action, you can remove one, you can flip it over, or you can place another one in another spot. So that's another action. I kind of skipped ahead to that one, but it kind of goes along with the project action, so I wanted to basically talk about that one before I move forward. Alright, so then an action that looks like that right there, that allows you to acquire a stock share. There's these companies over here. You can notice that they have both direct current and alternating current on them as well. Obviously, you're taking the ones that are for you. These are minor companies, and there are, not by minor, I mean like M-I-N-O-R, not M-I-N-E-R, they're mines, technically. So you're going to take them, and you're going to see they're bulbs, electric meters, and transformers. And you can probably see here that electric meters, transformers, and bulbs are these 3 technologies. You can't take a stock certificate for a technology that you don't control at that given time. There is another action you can do that allows you to take control of those, and they swap back and forth as the game progresses. So once again, it's just, I'm kind of skipping ahead to show you another action that you can do. And a lot of these are free actions that you end up doing. So like you get a free action for like selling a stock certificate, and then you'll use that to take, like transformers. So then you can use your action to purchase a stock like that. So you have this timing thing like I talked about earlier before. So if you do that, you're just going to go ahead and purchase the stock. There's no money in this game. You just basically take the stock that you want. And so you can see like there's bulbs over there. And so you could take, bulbs, like, and there's just like direct current of bulbs, this Walker share, if you will. Now you might notice that these cards also have a color here that kind of designates them for these different locations. So once again, you'd be placing those to show control and having those. So there are 5 each of these minor, once again, minor M-I-N-O-R companies on those locations. And like the first one that you have is worth 1 point, then it's worth 3, 6, 9, or 12. So you can see how they gain kind of like, so whereas these are worth 2, if you can get, you know, more and more of like the different, you know, colors that match up, you'll eventually like get more and more points in those spots, like because you're building up your power in that spot. And also you can then, you can see that in those situations you're going to be combating each other by, you know, making sure that you're placing, you know, things that you know have the same amount. And so you can see where as the game progresses, there are like certain situations where you're going to be trying to like take different technologies away from the other person so they're unable to place those cards. You're going to be putting these no AC/DC in those locations, and a lot of these times, like, you know, so they can't put the projects down. And a lot of what the actions come down to are just how can I muck up the other person's turn as much as possible to like not give them easy access to points. That's kind of like the whole clue to the victory, and so you're always kind of going back and forth as far as that's concerned. All right, so. And I should also mention, I forgot to mention that there is a first player like situation, like and then and then that person goes first that round. Then the next turn it switches, and then the third and final phase of the game, like it switches again. So you do have a turn structure there as well. So the other 2 actions I've already actually talked about, but I'm just going to explain them again really quickly. You can take an action to increase your PR. So if you gain a PR on this track, if you have an action that does that, and then that's also a free action that you can take. And remember that for every multiple of 3 points on the PR that you get a free action. So that's another way to get those actions as well. And then, of course, if you have Nikola Tesla, he has that special ability as well. On the backs of these tokens, they actually have like a +10 on there, so you can definitely like flip that over if you get above 10. If you're worried about hitting over 20, remember this game only lasts 3 turns. It's a very quick and, like as far as the game being over quickly, and I've never come close to getting, close to 20 public relations points on that chart. So don't worry about that. All right, so as I said, there's 3 phases. So after you've played all 3 of your cards, and your opponent's played all 3 of your cards, you're going to first check and make sure that nobody has gotten their automatic win descriptor. And if they've achieved automatic victory, then they go ahead and win. If both of you have achieved automatic victory, then nobody wins at that point. You keep playing, and so you also then and you also keep playing if nobody had got it as well. So if nobody has it, you just go on to the next round, or next phase, I should say, and then you play through that again. Each person gets 3 cards, you do the drafting again. After you get done with the drafting, then you play out that phase as well. Then you check again to see if anybody has any of those actions, any of those automatic wins. Again, if that's still the same, nobody has one, then you're going to do your third and final phase. And at the end of the third and final phase, if nobody achieves their automatic win, then you're just going to total up the total number of points that each person has for these 3 different locations. And then the winner is going to be the person that controls 2 out of those 3. If you have a situation where the total number of points that each person has in order to control, remember you get 2 points for each one of these projects that you have, and then the multiple points that you have for the different shares of the companies that you control. If you have a situation where they're tied for controlling a certain location, then you're just going to go to the public relations check and see who has the best PR. If they're tied there as well, whoever has control of the most of these technologies, notice there's only 3, so you have to have somebody that wins that, will be the person that wins that particular location. That's how you break those ties. And it's because there's 3, once again, you can't possibly tie with those 3, and whoever has the control of most of these locations, could be 3, could be 2, will win that game of Tesla versus Edison Duel. The game is really, really quick and really, really fast. But it has a lot of hidden depth. It has a lot of situations, as I said. It's like you don't want to allow the other players to have easy turns. You want them to work for those actions. You want them to work for those free actions. And free actions are like the biggest part of the game. You're going to draft your cards, obviously. You're going to get those cards. They're going to have those certain abilities that you're going to use. But the free actions are, as I said, wild, and so you need those to like get that synergy going, get that timing going, so that it works correctly for you. But it is a very, very clever game, very, very difficult game, and it isn't. There's something I really, really liked about this. This isn't a game where there's like you needed to learn all of the cards kind of situation, because at face value, that's where it is. I mean, yes, these cards with all the different assistants on it, once again with like real life people, Mark Twain, William Stanley, so on and so forth, J.P. Morgan, these real people and these assistants, yes, those have those special abilities and are varied on those different cards. But the fact that like there's no like keywords or anything like that, that you don't have to learn like the complete deck and then have an idea of how to win the game, so to speak. This is a game that's very reactive to how the other players are going, and you're always going to be kind of just struggling for one-upsmanship, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the kind of straightforwardness of it. But let me talk about that more in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for taking the time to learn how to play the game of Tesla versus Edison Duel. Now, I'm going to kind of build off of what I said, and hopefully you kind of got the last little bit of my explanation of how the game was played, but if not, I'm just going to do a quick little recap. Basically, there's lots of games like this that, like, take, a popular game, and they kind of, have this, like, boiled down two-player variant. You can find them a lot, and for the most part I really like these. I kind of like the fact that like usually the larger game is fun, it's good, but it's a larger game, right? It's this bigger experience, it's this bigger process, if you will, and you have lots of people at the table, and the game kind of takes a long time. But usually at those games, there's themes of those games that I like a great deal, and one of the things I really, really liked about Tesla versus Edison, and along with the expansion that came out with it, and it was, the theme of it. I really liked the whole idea of being in this era of invention in the United States and in the world at that time. And the fact that it used like historical figures, like people that and I mentioned this in my old video, people that I didn't even know really who they were, but then you go and check out their Wikipedia page, and you're kind of like, oh, cool, you kind of learn about, this era of these people that like really radically changed the world, and finding out exactly what they did and how they lived their lives, and that's something I really liked about the game. Now, as far as the game goes, as I said before, it is a very direct, a very area control game. But there's depth to it, and there's long-term strategies to it, but like I said, it's all about trying to muck up the other person's turn. You're trying to take that technology card away from them so they can't just, when it's their turn, then go and buy more stock for that particular type of company. They can't buy more bulb technology. It is about placing one of these markers on one of these locations, one of the regions, so they can't place any more of their project cards in that spot. And so like you're kind of like gaining control and then preventing them from doing anything with it. And it isn't like it's impossible to take care of. It isn't like it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, there's he's got control, or he put like a no DC token on that spot, I can't do anything. No, it's an action. It's like you find a way to get that free action, or you find the action on one of the cards that you have in your hand, and then you remove it and you switch it up and you change it. But that's eating up that action. You want people to have to eat up that action before they can actually start doing things to score points. And it's a marvelous way of just like boiling down the competition of the game. And there's no, like, the only real like thing about the game that's really different is like the instant win conditions for the different cards. And so you do have to be on your toes and make sure the other person doesn't come up with a perfect turn kind of situation where they are able to snag that victory while you're just like, man, what is this guy doing? I've got control over all these spots and they're not really working. Oh my gosh, no, he's going to get Tesla's going to get, 10 more PR points than me, and then they're going to pull off the win. So that is something you have to pay attention to. But for the most part, it is just a very direct, very contentious game, and I do enjoy these a great deal. And plus, because it doesn't take a long time, you only have 3 phases in which to do it. And technically you play 3 cards. Each card's got 2 actions on it. Then you throw in some free actions. So maybe you're taking, each time you play, for each phase, you're maybe taking 5, maybe 6 actions in those particular that entire phase. There is an economy of actions that, and that's something that I like in games too, like puzzling out that turn, figuring out what actions I'm going to do, figuring out how I'm going to get those actions done, and I enjoyed that a great deal. So if this game lasted longer, I don't think I'd like it as much. I think it works perfectly for the shorter time frame that it has. It is a quick setup, it is a quick play, and it is very, very satisfying as far as the gameplay experience. So there you go. That is, where are my Tesla and Edison? There they are. That is Tesla versus Edison Duel. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.